Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we're going to talk about the upcoming new moon in Virgo on September 21, which will be a partial solar eclipse, an eclipse featuring extraordinary symmetries, and as we will see, it will activate Neptune's Antiscia, that is, the shadow of planet Neptune. What makes this new moon even more extraordinary is the fact that it's the second new moon in Virgo in a row. And not only that, the eclipse takes place at the 29th degree of Virgo, meaning that it is taking place the day before the autumn equinox. And this means that the eclipse chart is going to be very, very similar to the chart of the sun's ingress into Libra, which occurs the following day, so defining the whole season. We have already discussed about the lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7, and also we talked about the problems related to personal and national borders, if you remember, especially those disputed by ongoing wars. We've even witnessed these days at border crossing crisis with Poland and a full-blown attack on Qatar, sadly. Now in this video, we will discuss the second and final eclipse of the year, namely the partial solar eclipse in Virgo happening on September 21st. Now this is the chart of the eclipse, but let's first and foremost talk about the latest changes in the sky. On September 18, Mercury enters Libra, here's Mercury, whereas on September 19, the following day, Venus enters Virgo, the zodiac sign of our fall. Mars, on the other hand, is here at 29 degrees Virgo, sitting on the so-called anaretic degree, and in fact, the day after the eclipse, September 22nd, Mars will step into Scorpio, his nocturnal domicile. Now this chart is very special because, as I mentioned, occurs close to the autumn equinox, which is the pagan festival of Mabon, by the way, and gradually leads us towards the festival of Michael, which occurs on September 29. And in particular, if you feel connected to this impulse, I really recommend to connect even more to the forces of Michael fighting the dragon, precisely during this time of the year when the lunar nodes connected to the image of the dragon are activated by the eclipses. And with this spirit, we can leave the image of Michael's sword and scales in the background, helping us facing the impending darkness that awaits us. And which darkness are we talking about? Now, this is a solar eclipse, of course, which means that the sun, moon, and the earth are aligned in that order. And by definition, a solar eclipse is a new moon, during which, as we know, the moon overshadows the sun. Now, being a new moon, the eclipse triggers events that have a sudden and unpredictable character. And on top of that, anthroposophy also explained to us that the cone of shadow that the moon projects down on the earth allows harmful entities that are present on our planet to be expelled out into the cosmos. So this phenomenon in general is better than that of the lunar eclipse, where nasty forces can enter the earth, but we should not underestimate the fact that these forces still sort of gather and accumulate before being thrown out. So it is still a very, very challenging moment. Now, in general, as you know, eclipses are different according also to the lunar node on which they happen. And as you can see here, this eclipse is taking place next to the south lunar node, not the north node, but the south node, the so-called dragon's tail, which, by the way, comes also with a poisonous sting. Now, traditionally, the south node is considered to be a little Saturn, and this means that it brings a more destructive quality or if you like, it tends to bring major endings in our life. So let's tackle the chart. The sun and moon are located here at 29 degrees and 5 minutes Virgo on the starry image of the Virgin. As you can see here, this is the Virgin. Now, in addition to being on the anaretic degree like Mars is, as we mentioned, the luminaries are at the center of a very powerful symmetry formed by a kite configuration. As you can see, this is the kite configuration, and the kite is pointing at the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. But this time, on top of that, not only we have a kite, we also have a yod configuration, the so-called finger of God, which is formed by this sextile that you can see here, formed by Venus and Mars. This is the base of the yod. And then we have two quincunxes, or inconjunct aspect. It's 150 degrees pointing at the Saturn-Neptune conjunction again. Note that the yod energizes the kite with these two squares that you can see here and here. On the one hand, we have Mars making a square to Pluto, and on the other, we have Venus making a square towards Uranus. Now, this is a very, very intense configuration, especially because this symmetry occurs precisely on the equinoctial axis, that is, on the axis where light and darkness are in perfect balance. And this means that technically the eclipse occurs on the Antiscia of planet Neptune. So what's the Antiscia? Now, basically, it is the shadow of the planet. It is the twin zodiac point, so to speak, to the one occupied by the planet. It is a point that energetically represents the same amount of light and the same amount of darkness. Now, this is very easy to understand in this case because planets along the axis of the equinoxes both have, in a sense, 50% of light and 50% of darkness, because as you know, basically equinoxes are this time of the year where we have 50-50 light and darkness. So having two planets here and here means that they are energetically sitting on points that comes with the same amount of light and darkness, with the same amount of energy. They are twin points, right? So basically, the Antiscia of Neptune at 1 degree Aries corresponds to a 29 degrees, here we go, 29 degrees Virgo, meaning that the eclipse is taking place right on the shadow point of Neptune. Now, this is very special, but on top of that, we have more, because this chart also features a mutual reception involving the Lord of the eclipse. Now, the Lord of the eclipse is Mercury in Libra, and Mercury in Libra is in the zodiac sign of Venus, Libra. So this means that it is in mutual reception with Venus, which, being in Virgo, the zodiac sign of Mercury, is basically receiving Mercury and vice versa. They are both receiving each other in their zodiac signs. This is, again, a powerful configuration. And why do I say that this chart also features that? Because this is the third mutual reception in a row that it is involving the planet ruling the moon, right? So ruling the chart of the event, I mean. So the third time in a row that we are experiencing that. So we talked about in the previous videos as well, and in general, this makes the event even more powerful. So let's tackle now the meanings of the chart, starting as always from the physical meanings. And in this sense, Virgo's mutable earth energies are connected to work in general and to the to industrial production in particular. Now, the challenge here is to face and process our shadows, related on a small scale to our work environment and on a large scale to the industrial sector. So what shadows are these? Now, the Antiscia of Neptune in Aries, Antiscia means shadow, basically, right? So the shadow of Neptune in Aries speaks to us of a martial collective imaginary, an imaginary that, as we saw in the Saturn-Neptune conjunction video, has to do with war, has to do with fighting, has to do also with the rearmament of Europe. And this means that from a personal, professional perspective, we're talking about a careerism, competition in the workplace, and paranoia as well. From a collective standpoint, instead, we are faced with the madness of rearming Europe, with the industrial sector reactivated for this purpose, as well as shadows connected to fantasies of industrial competitiveness. In fact, let's remember that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is linked to the tariffs imposed by the United States, and that these tariffs should, in theory, return manufacturing to the US, and this is something yet to be verified, to be honest. But at the very least, we can say this, that a solar eclipse gives us the opportunity to expel such shadows, fantasies, paranoia out into the cosmos. And this is especially true because we have Saturn back to Pisces now, right? And Saturn in Pisces is all about disillusionment or the destruction of illusions in general. And this brings us to the effect of the eclipse from a soul perspective, from a more psychological point of view, if you will. In this regard, here we are faced with illusions that are mainly of two types. On the one hand, we have an abstract, I would say, sense of justice, which makes us believe we are right to do certain things, such as rearming Europe or being aggressive, because it is something rational to do. And this is indicated by the planets that we find in Libra. We have Mercury in Libra, the lord of the eclipse and the planet of the mind, so the way we think, but also Mars in Libra, which can speak of a just rearmament, if not even a just war, right? And on the other hand, we have illusions linked to Venus in Virgo, which is involved by the mutual reception with Mercury. And Venus in Virgo suggests that the best choice is the most efficient one. So the choice that is capable of protecting our jobs on the one hand and protecting the industrial sector on the other is the most efficient, therefore the right decision to make, right? And this is connected because, in general, let's face it, rearming Europe is good for the German economy and the German industrial sector. So for this reason, we have this, propaganda saying that we have to rearm Europe because we are in danger, right? But this is something that is going to benefit Germany 100%. Now, this Yod configuration, because yes, we have this sextile between Mars and Venus, but it is part of this Yod configuration. Now, this Yod is all about choices that could lead to a destructive karmic drift, because the Yod is a configuration that is definitely connected to karma. And on top of that, the South Node is involved, and the South Node comes again with this destructive quality. And for this reason, I talk about a karmic drift, because we have a karma here going on, activating what? Activating this Kite configuration. And as you can see, the top of the Kite involves the minor grand trine between the three generational planets, which we have already discussed about. But in short, what's this? This is a powder keg, capable of leading to a large-scale popular revolution. Now, what's interesting about the three generational planets plus Saturn in this chart is that they are all four retrograde. So I personally doubt we'll see major uprising at the end of September because the retrograde motion suggests holding back. However, this is a sort of pressure cooker that has been steadily increasing the pressure since last spring, and I believe this eclipse marks, in a certain sense, a point of no return since it occurs during the square between Mars and Pluto, and these planets, they are all about conflict. Now, from a spiritual point of view, I personally believe we have now reached a moment of weighing of the souls, or also called the psychostasia. This is because the gates of the forces of karma are wide open here. So we have the image of Archangel Michael holding his scales, weighing how much balance there is in our soul between the Luciferic impulse and the Ahrimanic impulse. And in this sense, we have the dragon's tail here, on the south node that is kept downward by Michael. And this image is very similar to that of the woman clothed with the sun of the apocalypse, who holds the seven-headed, 10-horned dragon at bay. And in fact, the eclipse occurs in the starry image of the Virgin. This is the Virgin. And in particular, as you can see down here, on her head, the head that is adorned with 12 stars. Now, this is clearly a reference to divine wisdom, to the divine Sophia. And we have here a very close connection between the festival of Michael and the image of the Virgin Sophia. Indeed, as Prokofiev explains very well in his book, The Celestial Sophia, quoting a lecture by Rudolf Steiner from August 11, 1924, Archangel Michael can be considered to be the son of Sophia, the son of divine wisdom in a sense. Steiner points to this connection in Babylonian mythology, where Michael is called Marduk, and he is the son of Ea, the god of wisdom, who later takes on the feminine guise of Sophia in other traditions. So basically, with this image of Michael's psychostasia, which recalls divine justice, I urge those who feel connected to this impulse to fully celebrate, in your own way, of course, the festival of Michael this September 29th. Moving on, we can use astrocartography, as you know, to see where in the world the eclipse is going to be stronger, meaning where it is going to happen on one of the four angles that are the most powerful points of a chart. We have four lines. We have the red line where the event is going to take place on the ascendant, as you can see, affecting Sydney and Melbourne, Australia, as well as Tasmania. In green, we have the midheaven line here involving the west coast of the United States. In yellow, the descendant light falling in the middle of nowhere, and in blue, we have the IC line that is going to affect Iran mainly, but also Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. If we compare this chart with the actual path of the eclipse, we can see where the event will be stronger. Now, this again is an image, as always, taken from the website timeanddate.com. And as you can see, the eclipse will be very faintly visible, with the most intense line being that of the ascendant, involving New Zealand, here we go, and the east coast of Australia. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support my work, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video.